Hey there, I'm Joe Carter. If you've ever popped the hood and thought, where do I even start? You're in good company. Around here, we take the mystery out of car repair, one fix at a time. Whether you're a beginner or just looking to sharpen your skills, there's something here for you. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you're into learning without the headaches. All right, that's enough from me. Let's get into it.
The minimum number of elements in the design indicates that their failure negatively affects the behavior of the steering mechanism. Often, the work of the rack of vehicles provides only two components, racks, as well as gears. This ensures a long service life of the mechanism. If the steering rack consists of high-quality manufactured parts and is competently installed, it may well serve 100,000 to 150,000 kilometers. However, no matter how you postpone, but sooner or later the rack has to be repaired. Sometimes it is not necessary to seek help in the service, because there are malfunctions that lend themselves to self-correction of the problem. Knock steering rack, this is just the case, manifestations of which in the mechanism of the steering rack can be solved independently. Design. The device of the rack mechanism is quite archaic. The rack is a special element in the car, responsible for the position of the wheels in the horizontal plane. With its help, the vehicle is able to move in a given direction. The main task of the steering rack is to move the main gear that interacts with the wheels. The operating algorithm is simple. When the steering wheel is turned, the rack and pinion mechanism moves along the required trajectory. And this in turn moves the special links of the drive shaft. This process drives the wheels. Disadvantages of the rack and pinion mechanism: tendency to vibration of the mechanism itself. Active components are subjected to high loads. Despite the simplicity of the design, its dismantling is not easy. Steering rack with GUR diagnosis. In case of formation of knocking in the steering rack, perform a comprehensive diagnosis of all structural elements. Checking with a stalled engine with the help of an inspection pit will help to determine the available damage, as well as to decide how to correct the cause of knocking, on your own or in the service. Manipulation with a steering wheel by turning it left-right to a stop will allow to define approximate condition of all fastening. Elements of the mechanism: the presence of various backlashes of the joints of the steering rods, detection of knocking in the steering wheel, as well as its jamming. If the knock has not disappeared after the procedures, it will be necessary to dismantle the swing arms and cross rods with subsequent defects or replacement of broken parts. Diagnosis of the true cause of the knocking of the rack when turning will allow you to realize the healing of the mechanism on your own or resort to the help of car mechanics. It is possible that it will be necessary to splurge on a separate unit or even completely replace the mechanism. Of course, it is necessary to carefully weigh all the pros and cons. Also, because the replacement of the entire rack will cost a very tidy sum. But here, again, it is important to understand that a new original rack will have a much greater resource than the restored. In addition, it will favorably affect the behavior of the car and, as a consequence, on the safety of traffic. Why does the steering rack knock? Insufficient fixation of all fastening connections. To remedy the situation, tighten bolts and nuts. The support bushing may potentially be worn on a certain side. This could be due to backlash due to driving on poorly paved roads. All sorts of noises, knocks in the steering column can occur because of this. A corroding bushing is one of the causes of backlash. Then, it is necessary to completely change the steering rack directly, the repair itself before you start the process of healing the steering rack. You need to acquire the necessary tools, and better, a repair kit. What should be in the first aid kit? New elements for the gear mechanism of the rack, gearbox, simply put, bushings, glands, all sorts of gaskets, as well as grease, lytle, sow idle. To carry out repairs, you need to have at hand an octagonal wrench of size 17. Work with the bearing will require a puller. The retaining ring will be removed with pliers, and finally, a set of wrenches. The process of healing goes through a number of stages. First, remove the nuts from the steering pins. Then the pins are pressed out of the swing arms, suspension struts, through the holes, you should look at the spline joint, specifically the locking bolt. You can find it in the area of the pedals. After its identification, unscrew it, then take a nozzle size 13 and unscrew the nuts that are designed to fix the steering mechanism. Remove the mounting brackets mechanism, dismantle the steering shaft from the drive pinion. After that, it is worth stopping in order to raise the car on the jack from the right side, with the support of a chisel, as well as a hammer to bend the sides of the plate stopper. Take the nozzle size 22 and unscrew the bolts that are on the steering rods. After that, we try to dismantle the connecting and locking plates, disconnect the steering rods. Remove the dust cover and rubber support, dismantle the rack. After, it is necessary to wash the crankcase and install a new bearing. Finally, lubricate the gears with Lytle and proceed to the assembly of the unit. Actions are carried out in reverse order. Important note, it will be necessary to adjust the gap between the stop and the nut to 0.12 mm immediately after completing the assembly. Change the steering rack mechanism can be changed according to the general algorithm, because the design of the rack is similar in almost all cars. Although, it will be necessary to clarify the type of steering mechanism and the presence of amplifiers. Bottom line. As you can understand, the knock of the steering rack is not something out of the ordinary. Knocking in the steering rack has much less dangerous consequences than, for example, knocking in the engine, which hints at the failure of the piston group. But, nevertheless, it is necessary to keep the car in good condition regardless of the degree of wear of this or that part. Steering rack tooth wear. In conclusion, a knocking steering rack is a common issue that many drivers may encounter. Understanding the various causes, such as worn components, loose connections, or inadequate lubrication, is crucial for addressing the problem effectively. While some repairs can be tackled with basic tools and a bit of mechanical knowledge, it's essential to assess your comfort level and the complexity of the issue before attempting a DIY fix. If in doubt, consulting a professional mechanic can ensure that your steering system is safe and reliable. Remember, addressing these issues promptly can enhance your driving experience and maintain the longevity of your vehicle. Thank you for watching, and drive safely.